Well, hello and welcome. My name is K9, at least that's my alter ego online. And I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for subscribing. It's been a while since I've done anything, done any videos, and just because work got kind of crazy there for a while and I had to update some education things, some continuing education to keep my licensure for what I do for a living, and it just got nuts there for a while. And then I got busy with some clients and whatnot and just didn't have time to do anything, and then I was kind of burned out. So hadn't done anything for a while. When I finally got back in, when I did have a free weekend and whatnot, I got back on, and the stuff I made videos with GE Force experience from the NVIDIA group, it was just running so awful there for a while, would not run. Picked up the resolution from my second screen rather than my first screen. Everything was screwed. It was just frustrating. So the few times I actually did have the opportunity to do something, the system wasn't working and I didn't have the time to play with it. So now at this point, looks like GE Force completely redid some things and looks like it's running smooth. I think they hired some third graders there for a while and they had to actually work through the system and make sure they weren't going to get into trouble with the courts when they fired them. So new game I picked up. I was playing my first sandbox game for a while, survival type game, and got a hold of Conan Exiles, and that was pretty fun. They did a major update recently, and I have not had enough time to actually play 2 or 3 games. It's just I picked up one while I was waiting for that update to come up here in August, and I understand that's a pretty nice update. But I picked this one up in the meantime while I was waiting. It's called Empyrion Galactic Survival, and I gotta tell you, this thing is fun. I picked this up for 20 bucks, and I've lost some days to it. It is. I mean, if you're, the game is in alpha. It's got a couple of things, but if you are having fun with, if you enjoy building stuff and things like that, this is good. And this is how the game starts. You are in an escape pod out of a crashing spacecraft, and you don't have a whole lot of ability to manage here. You're just trying to get down into a safe area, and then what you're going to do is you're going to salvage what you can out of your escape pod and get to a point where you can actually build yourself some shelter, find some food, etc., etc. It's a survival game, but the thing is, you are on an alien planet. Don't really know. You don't really know kind of what's going on. And I got to tell you, this thing is really well done. The Robinson protocol, like Robinson Crusoe type thing, leads you through a couple of things and tells you what's going on. So here you are. You're in first person, but you can switch out of it. Some people are really kind of tied to that. Others aren't. And what if I like to actually see my little guy? I can take his helmet off because this is a breathable environment. There are other planets that aren't. And those little dudes back there, those are kind of nasty. And you can zoom out if you like to see your character a little bit. That's Alt-Z, by the way. But I need some stuff from here. So here's a med kit and some emergency rations, and I've got some rations on me already and some extra oxygen. You won't need it in this environment. Fuel packs, and this thing is really, really important. Survival constructor. That allows you to put things together from your resources. So you come down here with a chainsaw and a drill and some fuel. The biofuel comes from seaweed, which you'll get in a little bit. Some more med kit and a little bit of ammo, and the rest is up to you, which is kind of interesting. Anything else here? No. Alright, so those guys you don't want to provoke. They will attack you in a group. But you want to walk around and go, oh, what's out here? I learned very early on this is what they call corn dogs. Press F to pick up corn dogs. Those are edible. And you start picking up and collecting your resources. And the thing is, well, it's a survival game. You guys understand what a survival game is. You have to pull your resources together. Those big things are good eating. They, however, will run as soon as you shoot them. So it's a little bit crazy. But I think you get the idea. All right, so this is how the game starts, and I won't bore you with the details at this point. I'll just get out of here, and we'll go take a look at what I've built and what I've accomplished so far, so you can see where you get to in the game. This is the my character that I came into the game with. This is the one I've been playing here for 2 weeks or so, and he's maxed out on levels and whatnot. But here is a little ship that I didn't build this one, but I ordered this one from a blueprint. I'm going to get in the ship just so I'm not attacked by anything. You target, you notice your reticle changes, and you just hit your F key and you get in the thing, and you can actually pilot it. But I'm just going to hover here for a second and show you the ship. It's basically a hovercraft. It has thrusters around it, so if you want to go left or right or forward, up and down, back, left, right, the thrusters fire. You don't really have aerodynamics per se, but if you build the thing right, you can make it look as if you got aerodynamics. But here's the thing, is you get in here and you've got a tech tree, right, for building a base, building a capital vessel, which is a mobile base basically, a small vessel, which is a pretty good attack plane, and a hover vessel, which I've never bothered to build. It didn't interest me. I wanted to get to something that actually flew and could leave my current planet and get to another, its satellite, the moon. Miscellaneous items, some tools which are really important, and some weapons, which of course are always important in games. But you've got factions. I'm on a single player game at the moment. You've got a real nice system by which you can keep track of quests, which I've done none of. Knowledge base, which is surprisingly complete and informative for something that's in game. And here's where I ordered that ship from. Is I came in here and said I want something small, and I was early on, and something I could afford. That let's see, tier 1. Where's my tier 1 thing? Tier 1D? No, tier 1E. There it is. Something I could afford, and I looked at it and I said, well, early on I need to get around the planet, and it takes the least amount of materials. So what you do is you come in here, you select the prefab blueprint, which I guess there's some way to actually blueprint and save your own designs, which I've been trying to figure out how to do. I think you have to do it in creative mode rather than survival mode, but I haven't tried that yet. And then you come over here and you send it to the factory, and it asks you to input the materials that you have here and tells you what you've got. Okay, so you can stick it in there and then order it and spawn it, and you've got a ship, which is kind of cool. You've got a pretty decent marketplace, but since I've been on a solo server, I haven't seen how that worked. And a registry to show you what else is in the zone, and a sector map. And this is what I've seen so far. This is my current planet, the planet that we crashed on in the survival pod. And so far I've built a CV, which is a capital vessel, and I've gone to the next satellite, Skillen. It was pretty hostile. I mined some rare ore there, but you have to build a capital ship and install a warp drive to actually get out of your current system, your current orbital system. What do you call that? Planetary system. That's it. And I went here, and I went over here to Aedes. Aedes was a really, really hostile place. You get out of the ship, and it's 160, 180 degrees out, and you can only be out for a few minutes before you're overheated and your your stamina starts to go down. And I didn't have the gear at that point to actually deal with it, so I'm about to go back, and I think I'll take you on that trip. But what I ended up doing was I left Akua, went to the Akua moon, put a couple of mining things in there for some rare ores that wasn't on Akua proper, and came over to Skillen, looked for some things, didn't find many resources there, came over here, found the other rare ore I was looking for, but still was missing one, and came over to Masperon. And Masperon, I alighted in a pretty quiet area, built myself a little base, was able to defend myself, and in the process of defending myself, they killed my capital vessel, and I was stranded on Masperon for quite a while, which was pretty exciting. And they destroyed both of my ships, so I had to build a base to defend it, go find the rest of my my resources again and get to the point where I actually took over Masperon once I built my my own ships again, and I actually now own that planet. There's no alien presence left. There's no resistance left. I took over everything. So let's show you how this thing works. So here I am in this little craft, and the things that are actually on the screen back there I can take off. All right, take screenshot, etc. with the F6 key in case you're planning on playing. But here's what I can do with it. The auto brake is the O key. O key? No, I key. And you can enable inertia. But the thing is with the inertia is you've really got to be able to pilot this thing. And Alt-Z gets you into to where you can control the camera. All right. And standard controls, W for forward, A and D for left and right, and S for back, Q and E for bank left and right. And you can make it look as if you're actually flying. But we're going to go back to where my other base is, and I'll show you what I built. And we're going to fly in, and it's going to get pretty interesting. But I crash landed and wasn't in an area where there was a bunch of resources. And I hiked across the terrain here, and hiking across the terrain, it was actually kind of difficult to get over here because I was low on level and I didn't have a lot of resources, didn't have really good gear, and it was difficult to defend myself, etc. I died 5 or 6 times just trying to get over to this area, but when I did get over to this area, there was and notice I'm having a real good time talking and piloting this thing. So I got over here and there's a crashed ship nearby. Well, let me show you this. Target the cockpit, hit your F key, get in and out. F key will get you back out. But you hit your P key and it shows you the systems on this ship. Here's your main page, which shows you power, which you can just shut off everything right there. Or if you happen to have a refrigerator where you store some food on board, you might want to keep your power on but turn off your lights, your signals, and your thrusters, and sometimes your turrets if you've got automated turrets defending this thing. And you can turn those things off, and these are really cool. I don't quite understand these yet. However, I'm starting to get an inkling, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Each of your structures that you build has this page, and they're slightly different depending on what type of device it is. I'm looking at a small shuttlecraft, actually what they call a small vehicle, an SV. You can build a hovercraft, you can build a CV, which is a capital vehicle, the biggest thing you've got, and you can build a base. And each one of those structures has one of these pages, and it shows you what the health is, how many hit points you got, what the available power is, how much fuel you have, and I think I've got some in my inventory, which I do, and I could fill this thing with oxygen and take it up into space. And then this is one of the cool systems too. Once you put all this stuff in place, and in this little craft, I've got several thrusters, what's called an attitude control system. This is how you actually steer the ship. A fuel tank for it, some defense, an ammo box, and it's grouped into different sections. And it will show you the damage that you've taken and the fact that you need to fix the thing. And if I wanted to actually access, let's see, what can I access? Generator, let's go to the O2 station. This is one of the tank. If I wanted to actually add oxygen to my O2 tank, I can just select it, hit access, and it actually shows it to me. And if I had oxygen in my inventory, which I currently don't, but I do need to eat something. This is one of the things that actually bugs me, is your food goes down pretty quick, and once you get so low, you actually become pretty debilitated. So you have to keep food on you. I think you get hungry a little too fast, but that's a minor thing. The game is in alpha. It's in alpha development, and I'll tell you, for an alpha game for 20 bucks, everything works. Everything works. It's probably one of the nicest games I've ever played, and the thing is still in alpha. So you get out of the cockpit, right, and it's dark, so you hit L and you've got lights on your suit. Oh, well, that's cool. And without actually giving everything away, I'm going to take you over here. This is part of the base that I'd built. I hoofed it over here until I found this thing. This is a crashed capital vehicle that was actually on the surface. And I came over here because what you can do is you can actually get in there and salvage some things. You can come over here and go, oh, what's in the box? And there was all kinds of stuff that I looted out of there that got me started, which was kind of cool. So that got me started, plus the fact that once you start building a base and you start putting power to it, the alien presence on the surface starts sending drones to come attack you. And this cover for the drones was instrumental in helping me actually survive until I could get a base built. And this is the second iteration of my first base on this planet. And it actually is pretty impressive, but I'll take you there in a minute. This is the second vehicle that I built, which is an SV, a small vehicle. However, this is the third version of it. This is the Avenger 3. If you didn't notice, I actually got in this thing, and I can go to first person view, go into the main page. I've got the power on because I've got a refrigerator with food in it on this thing. I'm on a planet that actually has its own breathable air oxygen, so my oxygen system is off. Turn on my lights, turn on my thrusters, and let's go for a quick ride, shall we? So I'm going to get this thing up off the ground, turn it. I'm in a real tight space here. Alright, and then we're just going to go this way. I'm going to take you up to the moon in this thing real quick because you guys got to see this. Alright, so that's the upper boundary. You run into a couple of things up here. There's a boundary up here that tends to be like the the Arctic circles, where you just can't go. They didn't map it like that, but like I said, this thing's in alpha. Who knows how they're going to actually develop it. But you can fly around like this, banking left and right, diving. I even done loops in this thing. Let's see if I can do a loop. Let me get some altitude here. A little bit difficult to do a loop, and I think I'm going to pull out and do a roll. But the control factors are actually pretty good once you learn how to build a ship. So let's go up. Let me take you outside of this particular planet, and I'll take you up to the moon, or at least out of the atmosphere, so you can see the transition. There isn't really a load screen per se. It's a little bit of a wait, but it's not long at all. And if you see over on the right hand side, I'm coming up to orbit real quick, and we are out of orbit. And if I turn off my air auto brake, I can simply coast there and save a bunch of fuel. Hit my Alt Z and just look around. That, I think, is the carrier which I took down a little earlier. And this particular planet that we are on, Akua, I think it is. There's another planet there in the background. Actually has a ring of asteroids, which you can mine. I'm going to take you to the moon real quick and show you what I had up there. There's actually a little hostility up there. Maybe I'll show you that hostility. And I'm still just coasting. Graphics are a little bit, leave a little to be desired, considering the kind of stuff that we're doing so far. Currently here in mid-2017, a lot of games are actually really impressive graphically right now. This is a little bit of a couple generations back. As far as the graphics go, but like I said, this thing's an alpha. And this is, these are the two mining nodes that I put up here. I'll see if I can find a drone for you and shoot it down. I think that hostile base that I came in on a little bit ago was, I think I took that one down the last time I was up here. When I came back from the other planet, I visited the moon first and picked up my neodymium deposit and my sathium deposit, which I'll show you real quick. And there's another type of hit my auto brake key when I'm coming in for a landing, which makes it really easy to pilot. Turns off the inertia, and your O key auto levels you. So if you're not necessarily real good at controlling this thing on a keyboard so far, which sometimes I like to do it when I'm in combat, it's a whole lot easier to control this thing. There we go. If you don't have to worry about piloting the aircraft quite so much. O key to auto level. And bring this thing down. Set it down. Now, I don't have my helmet on. If you look in the lower left-hand corner over by my health stats and whatnot, there's an O2 symbol. The next symbol over to the right, which is lit up, says gravity. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my U key, put my helmet on, which has an oxygen source, and I'm going to leave the plane running because we're not going to stay here for long. C key has brought us down to the surface, and I'm just going to hit my F key and jump out, load up a weapon, number 2, which I can fire. And I'm going to run down here. And by the way, this game has terraforming, which is really cool. Maybe I'll show you a little bit of that. This is, I think, a neodymium. No, this is a sathium deposit, and there's a lot of sathium down here. And I did not auto mine this one. Let me show you the mining equipment. This is the newer miner. This is the upgraded drill. And it looks like it might be a sonic drill. It both cuts into stuff for you and has several modes. You right click, you have a resource mining mode, a stone removal mode, so if you have boulders on the surface you can break them up and take their resources, flattening mode, which tends to be really handy for building, a filler mode, also handy for building or flattening an area to land your ship next to something in rough terrain. And this one is terrain removal, which happens faster, but you get no resources out of it. So you point this thing, and I notice this works really well if you keep your eye on the reticle. And this particular drill, the upgraded drill, not only will mine the resources, but it will also pick it up for you, which the drill where you start will mine the resources, but then you have to pause and pick up the rocks manually, which is not necessarily fun. And over by my stats bar over in the lower left-hand corner, you can see that I'm picking up the resources with this upgraded drill, which is kind of cool. So it works out really well. And you can see that, I dug this hole manually and left myself a way to actually climb out, which tends to be important. And that's a work light, which I also put up there. So let's get out of here. Did I just see a hostile creature? Which there are some. Or did I see my own shadow? Nothing if not entertaining. Okay, so I left the ship running. And here's the thing you can do with this. Hit O to auto hover. And I'm going to go over to my M key, load up my map, and I don't think I have an auto miner on either one of these resources, which I loaded up. So did I put an auto miner on anything? Yes. The sathium deposit up here was a little bit larger, so there's an auto miner up there. Let's go pick it up. It is off to my left, halfway across the planet. And that's one of the bigger sathium deposits, which is why I put the auto miner on that one, because I'd already dug this hole manually. Alright, so we're going over in this direction. I might edit this out so you don't have to watch me fly. That is a T3 auto miner. Tier 3 auto miner. Let's see if I can land this. I put the auto brake on. Okay. when you're in a ship, your suit lights are automatically off. Hit your L key to turn them on. Come up to the miner, reticle changes, hit your F key to access it, and I've got rare ore all ready for me to collect. Power fuel packs loaded up, so the next time I come back I got a bunch of ore waiting for me. And once you actually get the technology and start finding the mining cores, which you actually have to beat up the alien bases to loot them, once you get the miners and the technology from your what do you call it? Oh, I'm up here. Did I put another auto miner somewhere? Anyway, once you get the technology to put your auto miners together, getting resources becomes real easy, which is kind of cool. It gives you the opportunity in this particular game to have fun playing the thing rather than spending all your time gathering resources. Even though running that drill has its moments. It is it's a novelty when you first start, but that's not what you want to spend your time doing. You want to spend your time going between systems and kicking ass. And if you notice in the upper right hand corner, there is a navigational chart that shows the planet that I'm next to and what direction that I need to head. And if I knew how to read it, I'd know which direction the planet was in that I'm trying to go to. And over one of the poles, which is what that screen is about. You can't really go down here. There we go. That asteroid belt tells me that the planet's behind my moon. Okay, so traveling outside your own planetary system can't be done with this particular craft, but it can be done with the capital ship, which I'll show you here in a little bit. And I'm just going to conserve fuel, turning my auto brake off, which is indicated in the lower right hand corner. First item, auto brake, which is your I key. Get that thing powered up and just coast the rest of the way. I just came back to this planet. When I built the base initially, I was really under duress. I was getting attacked by drones and had a hard time actually just even staying alive. And what I ended up doing was I just built what I could under duress, and then I got to the point where I built a capital vehicle and went looking for resources because I wanted better stuff. And since I got back to the planet, which was yesterday, day before, I actually redesigned my base, and it is this large gray building, which you can color, by the way. I just haven't got to that. I got to this large gray building, which actually has a dock on the back, which I will show you. And my capital vehicle, which I recently built and piloted back and got me off Masperon, where I was stranded, brought this thing back, and I can actually probably park this plane on the corner of that dock right under that, but I'm not going to bore you with that. We put this thing down, take you in, show you the base, and like I said, I got stuff in the fridge, so lights, signals, and thrusters off. I'm going to leave the power on and fill the tank before I leave, so it's ready to go next time. Hit my F key, get out. Hit my U key, take my helmet off. I could actually do that inside the craft because it had its own oxygen supply. But this I actually built when I was trying to work on the small vehicle as I was designing it, because I was trying to get underneath the thing. Let me take you up the elevator. There are elevators, which are really cool. And from the things that I've seen in this game, they've incorporated some other things from other games, and it looks like they took some of the best ideas. And I put this pit together so that I can park that vehicle on this thing and actually get to the bottom and fix stuff at the time where I didn't have one of these, which is a repair bay. And you basically just put your vehicle, even this huge thing, on top of it and shut off the power, and it fixes everything that's wrong with it. Good idea to inspect your stuff so that you haven't lost some of the building blocks. Let me show you those too so you know what you're looking at. You can see some of the building blocks here on my base structure, which is built out of concrete. But when you, do I have that stuff? Do I have anything here? I've got concrete blocks on me. Fantastic. It's like I planned this. So when I start to do this, you've got blocks that can go down, and other games do stuff like this. But I'm going to take my right mouse key and go like this and show you the iteration of shapes that you get to work with. And I've seen this in other games. This set is in use in other games, but the thing is, you can build some really nice stuff out of this once you get some experience and realize that this shape goes with that shape and goes up 2 blocks and finishes up with this one, and this one complements, and you get the experience and whatnot. But anyway, this entire base is built out of those concrete blocks, and that entire ship is built out of steel blocks with systems that are prefab, like landing gear. I didn't build the landing gear. The landing gear comes as 1, 2, 3, 4, a 2 by 2 by 1 square wide prefab, as do the armaments. But so I designed this base, and these are containers, and in some games they limit your storage. You're only limited by how much materials you have, and you can get cargo boxes and build them as many as you want. Okay, and these are ammo boxes which feed my base if I had stuff in them. And this is your food source. I'll pick some of this. I'll show you how to cook some of it. Ooh, lag. Ooh. I'll just do this right now. And come inside. Like I said, this whole thing is designed from just the squares that I had in different materials. These are actually walkway and fence materials right here, not concrete. Automated doors, again an elevator. These are the 2 ammo boxes that I have inside, which feed the guns that I have placed on my base, which is really cool. And I set this up, I think I did this morning, set up a kitchen which has a refrigerator which I can put my items in, and if I wanted to actually make something to eat, I can transfer them in. I can make this out of those, or I can make a sprout, which is how you plant things outside. Good idea to actually generate some sprouts when you have some things to make when you loot them from some of the creatures that you kill and whatnot, so that you can actually plant them. And I've actually got sprouts, a supply of sprouts here on the base just in case my plants die, because they do that, especially in hostile environments. You've got a med station, which I don't currently need, a place to put oxygen in your suit, that's called an oxygen station, a repair station, which I've got a drill that needs repair. I'll stick that in there and repair that for you. Okay, they do have, if you see this ammo drill charge, current durability is 3840. They do wear out over time, but you can repair them in the meantime, which is kind of cool. It's a decent system. This is a clone station, which allows you to spawn if you happen to die back here. And this is an armor station, which allows you to take off your armor, which I don't quite get. Why you'd need a station to actually get out of your suit, but that's fine. One of the cool things here, you can sit on the couch and recover your stamina. The bed will do the same thing for you if your stamina isn't there. This is one of the cool things that's in the game, is you can put up a board that you actually can interact with. And what I've done is I've let a board on each one of my bases on the different bases I have on the different planets as to what I wanted to do there, so I didn't have to remember it. It's right in game, and it saves it for you, which is really cool. So this is the level that I come in off the hangar. So when I land and come in, I cook something. I can check my goals. The rest of this is just fluff. It's just there for aesthetics. And this is another level that I did for aesthetics. I put the observation windows and the red lights for, this is the tech center. All right, medical's over here, and the tech center so that they're watching stuff. And like, you know, check out this screen. This isn't just a picture, it's a loaded GIF. They put some effort into this. Thing looks nice, and they've got several of them. Here's another one over here. Here's another one over here. Okay, now I'm off-world, and it's got a US map. All right, and you know, the map of the Earth globe in the upper right-hand corner. That's a little disappointing, but yeah, still, the graphics here those are pretty good. You know, they've got something that moves and something that's interactive, and it lights up, which is really cool. I want to make a couple suggestions to them, but they did a nice job with this. And just some stuff, you know, some technical looking stuff that allows you to, you know, make a tech center, etc., etc. So here's one of the cool things. This elevator goes between floors, and of course you build it by blocks. And this is one of the things that I put on my spacecraft, is there's a hatch on the bottom of the spacecraft with a extendable ramp, which I'll show you. But you don't want to be going in your spacecraft out in space and actually get through the airlock and launch yourself into space. That would be bad news. So what it allows you to do is pick up a paint gun and allows you to paint different things. So you can add your own colors to the thing. Palette is a little limited, but you can do it. And my last elevator is red, so I know when to stop. And you can put a door on that, which, if you're looking at this thing, actually has a little blue force field on it that keeps the oxygen in your base, if you happen to be in a hostile environment on a hostile planet, or on your capital vehicle, which you're looking at here, which is parked on my pad in the back. But we'll get to that. I'm on my roof. That's cannon. That's a plasma pulse laser turret. And that's another pulse laser turret. And that that caution paint that's on those blocks down there came out of the paint gun, which is really kind of cool. Let me see. My jet packs are off. I'm going to hit my J key and actually turn my jet packs on and launch myself over to my vehicle, which you can jump off things that are really high and actually hit your jetpack before you hit the ground and soften your fall. O2 station, med station, right where I land my small vehicle, and I'll put them in here. Yeah, I'm going to go get my small vehicle and actually dock it and take you to another planet. I'll show you how the warp drive works. And then that wasn't too high of a jump, but this one will be. And break your fall. I'm going to go dock my... And that's a tight squeeze. I wonder if I can get that in, because I just built that third floor. Tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my capital vehicle, turn it around. I'm going to see if I can park it. I'll show you how to... for those of you watching this, maybe you're going to go play the game. You've seen enough. And let me show you how you work with the optics on this thing so that you can see how to park something this big on a pad this small. And this is actually a class size 2 of a capital vehicle. I think they go up to 5. They build some really big stuff here. This is a extendable ramp. You can't jump this high. And the automated door, which is color-coded before you jettison yourself out into space. And I think that ramp will come up. I just installed it here. I put that up manually, but I think once you power up the ship, it will come up automatically. Other things do that, like the lights and whatnot. But you get on the ship and everything's bigger. Okay, these are generators. These are fuel tanks, T3 fuel tanks, which is why they're so huge. They're actually a double tank system. O2 tanks. And I'll show you a little bit of my design. This is engineering. Those are my... ammo boxes, which automatically feed the weapons. And this is a hydroponics bay, which I set up. I need to add some blocks here, which I should do while I'm in this environment, because I don't have to worry about killing my plants with the hostile environment that's outside. But I haven't harvested anything since I brought the ship back because I haven't been on the ship. I've been building the base. But you do this, grab yourself some food, just enough food for one person, and these little lines on the floor that show you your way back to the elevator, paintable with the paint gun, or with the pattern gun. And go up to the next floor, and on the next floor is my cockpit, which is behind that system right there. But I'll take you up to the galley, and I haven't showed you this yet. Let me stick this in the food processor and get some food cooking. That's how you make food. This is a gravity generator, important on a capital vehicle when you're leaving gravity of a planet. And this is a constructor which you put a bunch of materials in, and where you can make all the stuff that you need to build. Blocks, starting blocks. If you want to build a base on a planet, you need a base starter, hover vessel starter, small vessel starter, capital vessel starter, which you need, of course, in the green, the ingredients for it or the components for it before you can make it. And you take raw ore, which you mine, and allows you to put into ingots, which you use as ingredients in what you're actually making. So I'm going to take some of this stuff here. I'm going to get it out of my inventory. And here's one of the other cool things. Once you get into the system of interacting with the stuff that's on your ship, hitting this arrow right here will take you to the main page, and you can go into devices. Now, I'm not standing next to my cargo bay things, which, by the way, when you actually set these groups up yourself and you name a group, I have A-class systems for things that are, alphabetically A. Stuff I want to find when I first open this thing up, ammo and weapons. I want to find my ammo boxes and make sure that I have stuff in them. Access them from here, which is what I'm getting at here. You come back to this system, and anything you pick up in this list, like cargo materials, come over here, and this is what I picked up off the moons, a bunch of stuff. Come back to my Sathium, stick it in here, or I could stick it in my constructor and actually make the ingots while I fly, which wouldn't be a bad idea, actually. Let's do that. And here's some of those auto miner cores. Hard to come by before you are actually taking down bases. Let's see, Sathium ore. They need 5 each. Yeah, and I've got a couple thousand, 4,000 or so, probably 800 of these. You click on one, and it gives you the number in your process. You hold down your shift key, and it goes by tens. So we came up the access port, went through engineering. You saw engineering. This is the second deck, and it has windows that you can see from this observation area. And if you were to actually observe where from the outside, I should show you this. Let me take you outside and show you this. I also put a hatch that's on the top of my vessel, so I can get out and actually look at things from the top. Okay, let me show you this. F5 gives you this little thing, and what this little thing is it's a drone that you can load up tools for and go actually select something and go build stuff, so that you don't actually have to physically be able to get up and down and around your vehicle and base. You can use the drone and just stand in one place and let the drone do it all, which is really, really cool. I haven't seen a game do that before. Maybe you guys have, I have not. So, let's see, what did I come up here to show you? I've forgotten. But that's the top level. And notice I color-coded my elevator so I don't just shoot myself into space. But the thing I like about this particular vehicle design, and I designed this whole thing. The whole thing's built out of blocks. And it took me days to do this. One of the things you need to do with a vehicle that leaves the planet is you have to have this thing called a ventilator. And there's a ventilator. Notice there's one over here too. Every time you close off a section, you have to have a ventilator in it, or you don't have a breathable atmosphere. Now this planet has a breathable atmosphere, but for some reason I had some problems in my cockpit. I think my cockpit's too small, that it is preventing oxygen from getting in and around the blocks that's in the cockpit. I think it's a bit of a bug. I have to actually, I let them know about it, but I haven't gotten a reply back yet. So let me show you this thing. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you some build tools. Take you outside real quick. Build tools. Let's load up the repair drone, and let me show you. N brings up your build tool list, and if I wanted to see my oxygen, as far as where my oxygen was, does it actually show it? Or airtight, there we go. This shows you the airtight blocks. Nice system. Okay, my ship is airtight. Hold down your N key, show me the airtight blocks. It'll show you where the leaks are so you can fix it. Which I didn't use when I was building this thing. I didn't discover it until after I was done. Show the oxygen availability, which it should usually do, but I don't see it. It's not coming up. Not quite sure why. So let me go back to N and turn that thing off. Alright, hit your F5 key again, you go back to yourself rather than your drone. And let me show you how I designed my hangar bay on this thing before I fly my plane into it. We leave orbit. Another, just aesthetically pleasing little area. I put a med bay over here, a couple of hospital beds and a scanner. They did a nice job, on some of the things. The one thing I don't like is that so far with the build materials, in a little area like this gets a little tacky from the point that it's one block per item, and you can't just, I put a block down here for my elevator to take me up to my warp drive and my warp drive tank, which has my fuel in it to jump from planet to planet. So I set that aside in an area with a red door, by the way. But when I put my elevator parts here, where is it? Yeah, okay. The railing actually had to go on the next block out, and now nothing else can go in those blocks. Little bit difficult to build around, but with a little bit of forethought and some practice, you can do pretty well with it. Let me see. How am I doing on food here? I'm good. Okay, so you come out here from this main section of the ship, and these, by the way, are the top ends of the fuel cells below. Take the elevator down, and you're in the hangar bay. I liked it. I really did. When I was done with it, I was like, I think I did a pretty good job. And my warp drive is up there. What I don't like about this ship is I don't like the exterior. It just looks like a big, massive, big bloated, fat old frog. Which, if you knew me from some of the games, you're probably laughing your ass off. But this is a prefab door, and the thing actually is animated. I mean, nice job, guys. And this prefab door, it is one thing that you create in the constructor, and it has like 8, 9, 10 different sizes, and some of them are just massive. This is like the 4th or 5th size, which is like 7 blocks wide, which is all I needed for my ship. But some of those things are just massive. So they thought of a lot of stuff, and even though the game is in alpha, it's fun. It really is. I just had a ball with this thing so far. So if you're, obsessive compulsive like I am, and what I did to get in here is I walked up to my pilot seat, my cockpit here, put the reticle on the seat and hit F, and I climb into the cockpit. Now, piloting something this large, again, you hit your P key, go over to your main, turn on the power, and since I have refrigerators running and stuff growing in the bays, I left the lights on for that. I'm going to turn my turrets on, even though there's nothing hostile left on this planet, pretty much for me, and turn the thrusters on, and I'm ready to fly. Let's fill the tanks here real quick, because I've got fuel on me. And before we leave orbit, we need to turn the oxygen on, so don't let me forget. So here we go. We're going to go back here, and we're going to lift straight off with the spacebar. Hit my O key for level flight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to just turn this thing around 180 degrees, get out of where I can run into things. And see if I can turn this thing around. I need a little more altitude here. And I put 3 RCS engines in here, which allows you attitude control. I had one in when I first built the thing. Couldn't turn it left and right. Just did not turn. So I learned that you put several RCS engines in these things to help your attitude control, solving that problem. So what I'm going to do with this thing is I just went straight up and turned the thing in pretty much 180 degrees, but how do I know that? I don't. What I'm going to do is here, I'm going to hit my Alt-Z key, change my camera position, and be able to look straight down on this thing. And I happen to line this thing up pretty straight on my base. I'm going to come back to my Alt-Z key and just turn it left just a little bit more. Hit my O key to flatten out automatically level my flight. Go back to moving my camera. I'm pretty much where I need to be. And I'm going to need to move this thing very, very little. So I'm going to go and hit my C key. Actually use my thrusters to push this thing down. I only have 2 thrusters on top, small ones, so I can't come down at any great speed. S key to back this baby up, because I'm way close to the house. I'm going to come in and check my landing gear. I've got 2 sets of landing gear on the bottom, and the second set of landing gear looks like it's just at the edge of this thing. And the front one looks lined up. But I'm going to go to the right a little bit, line it up nice and straight with the camera that's on the exterior, kind of like using your own drone. Line this thing up and then just take it straight down. At that point I'm going to go to P, shut off my thruster so it doesn't move, shut off my turrets because there's nothing aggressive around, leave everything else on. Go get my other ship, hit my F key to get out of the cockpit, and I'm going to go grab my other ship. Oh, before I get out of here, let me show you this. One of the things that you can do with this, notice my lights on the bay aren't on, is when you get into here, one of the things that you can make with the constructor is a switch, which comes in several iterations. And I'm going to hit my P key and actually interact with this thing like I did with the lights. I don't know if I showed you that, but if I wanted my lights to move or be different, I could actually interact with them. I hit my P key, which activates my base basically, and I come in here to signal logic and show you that you can actually configure signals for this particular switch and hook things up to it. Let me show you what I did with this switch. I'm still learning this, so don't expect me to explain it to you and have it make any sense. But I put basically an on and off signal on this thing and gave it a name and told it what to do. This is the output signal from what I understand so far. And then I assigned this switch to these lights. I started with this one. Again, target the light, hit your P key, and said repair bay. And put this option on it. And it does this when I throw this switch. And it doesn't work exactly like I want it to, but if you hit your F key to interact with it, all my repair bay lights come on. Both the ones on the towers and the ones on the deck. And I just went around and assigned the same switch parameter to each light, and when I throw this switch, they're all on or off. So if I'm doing repairs out here, I can turn my switch on, which changes on my base. Hang on here, where's my base? How much power I happen to be using. And my base actually puts out a lot of power, so it doesn't use a lot. But if I'm not using the lights, why run them? So that's one of the nifty things you can do with this thing. Let me go park my plane and take you out of this particular planetary system because it's interesting. work in this tight space. So come back to F, climb out of the cockpit, look at where I am. Yeah, I overshot my mark. That's a better parking job. So when you come back from combat, let me turn my suit lights on here with the L key. Each one of these panels, all right, has a damage factor to it. It'll take so much, abuse before it just goes away. And then you have to come back and repair it. And if you can't see the bottom of your ship, which is why I put the blocks in, that's, you come back missing panels and all of a sudden they get a lucky shot in and they start damaging things that are tougher to repair. Okay? So, cool on that. And head back up to the cockpit. Oh, this is what I want to do. I've only been successful with the signal thing that turns the lights in the repair bay on the base on and off. I've only been successful with that signal thing since I was working with it last 2 days. I've only been successful with it on the repair bay. One of the things I want to do is I want to put a switch up by the cockpit that closes the back door. Otherwise I have to remember to close it manually. Haven't figured that one out yet. I also want a proximity switch, which is available. It's just a different version of that switch that I've actually got, that I actually show you I made. Put on the ramp that is on the bottom side entrance of my capital vehicle, because it's too high to jump up to that entrance. So having the ramp when you're in range of it actually come down automatically is a pretty cool thing. We're going to fly to the next planet, and I'm going to pretty much end the video there, because what I'm doing is I'm going up to one of the planets where it had resources that I didn't have anywhere else. One of the rarer resources, and I just got a ton of that stuff. But with 3 RCS units in this huge ship, this thing flies pretty easily. And we'll go and do some hostile stuff, and you'll see all those turrets actually firing. So over on the right hand side, lower right hand side, you actually see an orbit counter. I'd like an altimeter on my first person view like this, and I'm going to ask them for one of those, but it does show you distance to orbit, which kind of gets you there. Okay, once you clear the atmosphere. Now, one thing I've got problem on my ship is I don't have O2. Okay, so I got to put my helmet on to pilot my ship. It's a kind of a bug right now. So I'm not going to go to the moon because we already been there. But what I am going to do is I'm going to find the next planet, and here's how you do that. I'm going to hit my M key, go to my map, go to my sector map, and notice the moon is here. Akua moon is here. We just left Akua. But I'm going to go to my sector map, find another planet, and to get over to EGS, which I think is where the rare metal is that we're looking for, to get over there, what I've got to do, I've got to see if I've got enough resources to get back before we go. What I have to do is I have to get to this planetary system at Skillen before I go to EGS. So let's check our resources. So just sitting here in space, I'm going to hit my P key, go into my main menu, go to my devices, go down to my large constructor, which is where I have this information, or my materials, hit my access, and go looking for the fuel that goes into my warp drive, which is these things, pentaxid. Lots of it on Akua's moon. You can just pick it up off the ground. Takes you a little while, but you can do a bunch of it. And then you have to refine it using your constructor into this stuff, which is pentaxid. And I think what I'll do is I'll do a bunch of that. It is 1 per. So what I'm going to do is, making sure I have enough fuel to get back, I'm just going to set my constructor to make me 100 of them. And while we fly around, it's just going to make a bunch of those, so that when I'm ready to come back, I actually have enough of them. Okay, so back to piloting the ship. So I'm still in a pilot seat, haven't left the pilot seat. Go back to my map, go to my sector map, and I'm going to highlight my destination, Skillen. And I'm going to come down here and say lock target, and it tells me it's going to take me 23.3 of those fuel units to get there. Okay, if I were to choose a different destination like Omicron, different number of units, energy units to get there. Trading outpost, different number of energy units to get there. So we're going to head to Skillen. I'm going to lock my target, which is going to highlight it, come back to my main screen, and it's going to give me, maybe in my F6 key, there it is, that gold arrow. When it wasn't on my screen, because my F6 key was in the wrong iteration, it didn't actually have screen hints on, it will tell me what direction that planet is in, and then what I have to do is I have to get my ship up to speed, which is the W key to hit forward, and once it's up to speed I'm going to hit my K key and go into warp drive. And here we go. And it takes me, not quite a load screen, I mean for as long as this takes, it takes me to a different planetary system. Guys, I'm telling you, for 20 bucks you get to build a base, arm it to the teeth, collect resources, mine them automatically, build fighter planes, build these huge, which I hope you build something that's better looking than what I got here, because this thing is a large gangly beast, but it is armed to the teeth. You get to build stuff and then fly it into space and fly it between planets. I mean, come on. What a blast. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go and I'm going to check out my other system and go to the next system. So guys, this is Empyrion Galactic Survival, and I'll tell you, for 20 bucks it's a well-made game, and it's still in alpha. So I hope you enjoyed my introduction to the game for you. I hope you learned a couple of things. If you're just starting the game, maybe it'll get you along your way pretty quick, but it's a fun game, and I hope you have a good time playing it. Once again, this is K9. I thank you for joining me, and if you'll subscribe or like the video if you found it interesting, it'll help other people find this information. And again, for my longtime subscribers, I thank you for tuning in again. I'm sorry I was gone for so long. Work was kind of crazy there for a couple of months, and I was kind of burned out with having to produce a bunch of stuff. So hopefully I can get back online here every once in a while and do some stuff, even though I'm busy. So thanks for joining me. I hope you had a good time, and I will catch you on the flip side. K9 out.